Hello, everyone. DocPlexus, in collaboration with TASMED, brings to you Medcast, providing insight into healthcare, a KOL interaction series. In today's part, we have with us Dr. Sanjay Kalra. He's completed his MD, MBBS, MD, and DM from AIMS New Delhi. He's a renowned endocrinologist based at Bharti Hospital, Karnal, India, an avid researcher, writer, and a busy clinician. He is an immediate past president of Endocrine Society of India, Vice President of the South Asian Federation of Endocrine Societies, and Education Editor, as well as Deputy Chair, Advocacy and Partnership Working Group at the International Society of Endocrinology. Having you here today, sir. Our
Thank you,
today's
Anand.
topic of discussion is insights on diabetic dermopathy. Shall we start, Dr. Kalra?
Sure.
So, my first question for you, sir, is could you please enlighten us about the importance and etiology of diabetic dermopathy?
Diabetic dermopathy, as the name suggests, it's a pathy. That means it's a disease. It's a disease of the dermis, that's the skin, and it occurs in people with diabetes. So it is an effect of diabetes. If you have uncontrolled diabetes or long-standing diabetes, and let's put them together, you have uncontrolled diabetes for a long period of time, then you may get skin lesions. That's diabetic dermopathy. So it is a result of poor control of diabetes. It is also a marker of diabetes. So if you find a person with dermopathy and the lesions are like those that you see in diabetes, many times we diagnose diabetes based on this. Diabetic dermopathy does not occur in isolation. We already mentioned it is more common in people with poorly controlled diabetes, especially type 2 diabetes, but it will occur more often in people who are obese, in people who have other vascular complications, both micro and macrovascular. So that's the importance of diabetic dermopathy. It helps you pick up poor control. It helps you pick up a higher risk of micro and macrovascular disease. And I think we should view it as a window of opportunity to be able to help our patients live a healthier life.
All right. That was a very insightful answer, Dr. Sanjay. So, like you mentioned in your previous answer, so could dermopathy could also it associated with any other complications or any other comorbidities? So, would you like to elaborate on that?
Yes. Classically, when we define or when we classify complications of diabetes, we structure them as acute and chronic. In chronic, you have multiple complications, but the ones that we are worried about most are the vascular ones. Microvascular includes retinopathy, neuropathy, and nephropathy. Macrovascular includes stroke, coronary artery disease, and peripheral arterial disease. Now, diabetic dermopathy is associated with all of these. Actually, if you see diabetic dermopathy, by default, you know that your patient has a more than 50% chance of having coronary artery disease. So the same way that, you would look for acanthosis nigricans or skin tags, and then you would think about insulin resistance. When you see diabetic dermopathy, do not ignore it. That is a sign that the patient may have subclinical coronary artery disease. See the clinical impact for the physician. Patient came to you with vague symptoms, maybe uneasiness, ghabrahat, maybe sweating or pain chest after having a meal. Now, you're not sure whether to think of this as a psychosomatic illness, as a gastritis, acid peptic reflux, or as an anginal equivalent. You're not sure. You don't have access to tests for everybody. The moment you see diabetic dermopathy, you know that you should err on the side of caution. So you must evaluate such patients for subclinical vascular disease.
Wonderful answer. Thank you so much, Dr. Sanjay. So, having said that, you just pointed out some clinical signs of identifying diabetic dermopathy. So, if we talk about a family physician or a healthcare practitioner, how can they identify these lesions at their clinic?
By simple inspection. Even when we look at the way Ayurveda is structured, for so many thousands of years, Ayurveda says, first you do a darshan chikitsa. That means you do darshan or inspection. So that's what you do. There will be many types of skin lesions in people with diabetes. You might find lesions suggestive of insulin resistance, suggestive of high cholesterol levels, like xanthomas and xanthelasmae. You will very frequently find infections like balanoposthitis, pruritus vulvae, and other soft tissue infections. But the classic diabetic dermopathy that you see will usually be over the shins, on the lower limbs. So you will have to ask your patient the history, and you may have to see the patient. The patient will have to expose up till the knees at least. You will find small lesions, very small, well-defined lesions. They'll be brownish in color. There might be a slight depression, and there'll be atrophy. It'll be a scarred atrophy. The maximum size that you will see will be 1 inch. And usually these symptoms are, lesions are asymptomatic. There's no itching, but the patient will complain of a cosmetic issue. Like the patient may come and say, I want to wear shorts, or I want to wear a short skirt, and I'm not able to do it because of these lesions.
Understood. Makes sense. So having said that, could you please also elaborate on the histological findings that are associated with these kind of lesions?
In general practice and in endocrine practice, usually we will not do a histology. We will not ask for a skin biopsy. But at times, when maybe our colleagues in dermatology are worried about a malignancy, then we do ask for a histopath. And in the histological examination, you will find atrophy of the dermal papillae. That is the key marker of diabetic dermopathy. The dermis has atrophied. There will be variable pigmentation of the basal cells. The intima of the blood vessels will be thickened. So actually, this means that there is ischemia. Because you have thickening of the intima of the blood vessels, blood is not able to reach the skin. That's why this scarring and hyperpigmentation occurs, which means that diabetic dermopathy itself is a vascular complication. It's like a microvascular complication of diabetes. You might see extravasation of the RBCs, deposition of hemosiderin because of that, and that will lead to the hyperpigmentation. And there might be a mild lymphocytic infiltration. So these are the common issues that we see. Rarely you may see edema or telangiectasia or fibroblast proliferation at the papillary dermis.
All right. So that brings me to my next question, sir. So what are the differential diagnosis, of such lesions? Because there could be many lesions that the HCP might get confused with the dermopathic lesions of diabetes.
Diabetic dermopathy is actually quite easy to diagnose. You just look at it and you diagnose, and you need a couple of factors on history. So ask for history of itching. If there is pruritus, then we will think more of tinea, fungal infection, or scabies. Now, scabies can present in multiple ways in India, and so can tinea. And do remember that your patient might have taken over-the-counter preparations, might have taken a partial treatment, an incomplete treatment, or maybe a wrong treatment. And that will lead to something called tinea incognito. You cannot make out what the tinea is. Even scabies, the kind of classic picture that you read in the textbooks, that may not be there. But still, both of these will be associated with itching or pruritus. If you've ruled that out, the patient is coming with a non-pruritic lesion, and you're thinking of diabetic dermopathy, then you do have to rule out other drugs. Usually, purpuric dermatosis, like Schamberg's disease, like purpura annularis, lichenoid dermatitis. These are the things that we have to rule out. Also look at stasis dermatitis. Does the patient have varicose veins? Do you think it is venous stasis? So diabetic dermopathy will be located towards, it'll be more proximal on the shin. While if it is stasis dermatitis, secondary to venous engorgement or venous stasis, that will be more distal. So that's another way of making out. In venous stasis or dermatitis, you will be able to see the blue outline of the veins. But in diabetic dermopathy, you will not see that. So these simple tools actually help us reach an accurate diagnosis.
Makes sense, sir. All right. So that brings me to my next question. So could you please highlight on the importance of tropical care for diabetic dermopathy?
That is of utmost importance, Dr. Unnati. How do we treat diabetic dermopathy? We get the answer from the name itself. First of all, treat diabetes, ensure good glucose control, ensure good vascular health. And secondly, treat the dermopathy. How do you treat a dermopathy? You focus on the dermis. So let's look at the issues that we face in diabetic dermopathy. There is scarring, there may be puckering, and one of the reasons is that there is increase in transepidermal water loss. So we have to prevent the water loss. There is also an alteration in skin integrity. So we would want the skin to be healthier, we would want it to be stronger so that it can resist exogenous insults, whether due to heat, due to trauma, or due to an infection. So for this, we have to hydrate the skin. And the best would be to use a non-irritating skin cleanser. Avoid soaps with acidic content. And when you're using an antiseptic soap, there has to be a reason for that. There's no point in using an antiseptic soap or an antibiotic soap on routine skin, especially on sensitive skin. Also, it would be a good idea to use moisturizers or barrier repair formulations. What kind of moisturizers should we use? They should be moisturizers that are soft to the skin, soothing. They should be able to prevent water loss, and they should be able to prevent incoming insult. Good ingredients would be an oatmeal powder, glycerine, coconut oil. These are drugs that we use to good effect. Aloe vera, ceramide complex, and liquid paraffin. These are other drugs that are used. And when we use combinations of these, we can actually prevent further damage to the skin. And in the meantime, we optimize our glucose control strategies so that we are able to minimize the cosmetic impact on the patient.
All right, sir. Very nicely put, very precisely put. So I think our audience here has taken a lot of insights. So lastly, is there a take-home message for our audience here?
Please do ask for diabetic dermopathy and look for it. If you see diabetic dermopathy, do not ignore it. What are the things we have to do? Number one, local management. Give a good moisturizing cream. Tell the patient why it's being given. Tell the patient that right now there is no ulcer, but we want to prevent further ulceration. Secondly, tell the patient that this is a marker of vascular complications. So please allow us to investigate for macro and microvascular health. And if we find any issue, please allow us to treat that as well. Take the patient as part of the healthcare team. Share decisions with the patient. And when the patient understands that diabetic dermopathy is actually a marker of overall health, then the patient will take better care of her or his skin. Once that is done, then you can sit back and relax. 99% of your work as a physician is done. You have motivated your patient to take charge of her health or his health. Once that is done, it's smooth sailing.
Appreciate all the time and insights you have put here, sir. It's a pleasure to have you on board, and I think our audience has taken a lot of insights from it. Thank you again for being here. Thank you for all your inputs here. And to all our viewers out there, I hope you're taking away some valuable insights. Please stay connected for more such interesting series that we're going to have in the future. Till then, stay safe, stay connected. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, doctor. Thank you for being here.